TellyCast.
Hello and welcome to another TellyCast. I'm Justin Crosby. On this week's show, I'm chatting with TV industry formats guru Avi Armoza as we discuss how he got started in TV, his secrets for format success, and how Armoza Formats has developed since its sale to ITV Studios. It's coming right up on this week's TellyCast. My guest on this week's TellyCast is CEO of Armoza Formats Avi Armoza. Welcome to TellyCast, Avi. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Not at all. Thank you very much for joining us. Where in the world are you joining us from today?
I'm in Tel Aviv, very warm under a heat wave in Tel Aviv.
Europe and the US and seemingly everywhere is getting 45, 50 degrees or something. What's life like in Tel Aviv right now?
We are not there. I think we are around the 32, 33, but Tel Aviv is, by the Mediterranean Sea and it's humid. And the humidity make it even tougher. But, we see the pictures from all over the world and we kind of feel that we are part of it.
That's a great thing about Tel Aviv. You've got the beach, so you can just dash off and cool down pretty easily, right, from the office.
The water during summer getting very warm. And even if you go in the middle of the night, they are still warm and fun to swim in. So always when people ask me when to come to Israel, I will say come in spring, because springtime everything is green and flowering. But then if you want to enjoy the sea, summer is a good time as well.
It always struck me as a very livable city, Tel Aviv. I've only visited once and I'd love to go back, maybe one day soon. I often start every show just finding a little bit about our guest's career history. And you've got a very storied history in the industry. You're a very well-known formats executive. But can you take us right back to the beginning of your TV career? How did you get your first break in TV?
You might be aware that the TV industry in Israel is still very young in comparison to other territories. And I think I was very lucky to be like in major junction of the development and establishment of the TV industry. Out of university, there was no private market in TV in Israel. There was no commercial TV. It was only one public channel. And actually, I found myself in the governmental organization doing documentation. Mainly, Israel is a massive immigration absorption countries, and there were then people coming from Russia, coming from Ethiopia, and I was then documenting those stories, kind of under the government. Some of the events were really massive and historical, I was lucky to be with the only crew in Ethiopia in a weekend where Israeli kind of rescue 35,000 Ethiopian Jews, from Ethiopia to Israel in one weekend in a massive airlift, yes. And those, it was like the first time that was filming that I produced were kind of all over in all the network all around the world. So the only shows that were available from inside Ethiopia was from the only crew that was there, that the one crew that I've sent. So it was like historical time and very exciting time to be. But still, it's a public organization and with all the complexity to be part of it. And then in 1993, it's when the commercial television established in Israel. And it kind of opened up the whole production market. And I was recruited by one of Israel's major studios called JCS. JCS was then only like a service center. It was the service center for all the news, networks operating out of Israel. And because, the market is open up, they want to move into production. And they recruit me to build their production arm. I was there for like 11 years and we became the number one, the leading production companies in Israel, doing, scripted, doing feature film, doing entertainment, doing various formats, that bringing formats, developing formats. So this was like the second stage. So from public, I went to be an employee in a private studio. And then, after 11 years, when it was the time to move on, the next stage was to open my own company and go totally independent. And my philosophy and my vision then was that Israel is a small, limited, very creative market, but not competitive. And the creativity that exists within the market is much more than the TV stations and can accommodate. So if we know how to create, if we know how to produce TV, why just focus on a small little market like Israel, but why not look into the world as your market? I established the first company that was taking content out of the Israeli market to the international market in the form of format. We were like the pioneers. Started with only one employee until developing gradually. After 5-6 years, when we kind of very established in the international market and all the other players in the Israeli market, so that there is a business model there, all the Israeli market follow our steps, and this has pushed all the industry to become a leading content creator in the international market. And I kind of knew that probably the next stage might be to be part of a global company, being part of the global market. This business is very much based on consolidations and merger and acquisitions. And we can speak more about the timing, but I felt then, which was like 4 years ago, exactly 4 years ago, that it was the time. I had a lot of benefit of being like a very independent company, able to move fast, able to, but I felt it's the time because of the changes in the industry. It's time to be part of a global group, and the company was bought, by ITV. So this was like the fourth stage of my career. So if you want, like it was like divided for 9-10 years in each places, and 4 different stages of working within the industry.
And when you set up your business with a view to exporting formats from Israel in the first place, was that an unusual concept? Did people think you were crazy doing that? Or did people just think, oh, God, that's a good idea. Wish we'd thought of that. How were you viewed in the market when you did that?
You're right. People really thought I'm crazy. They didn't believe that it can happen. But for myself, it was like a natural development of my career. Because as a producer at JCS, we bought format and produced them locally. Then we started to create format. And I said, okay, if we're creating format, why not giving it for distribution? I remember bringing a format, to MIPCOM, still on a VHS cassette, and trying to interest different partners. And I was and Sony, Columbia, and Action Time at the time. You remember Action Time? The British, one of the leading British format at the time. Both of them were interested. And the offer of Action Time was much better than Sony, and I decided to move ahead with Action Time. I still remember a sentence that one of my international colleagues told me: as much as you want to say that you are in bed with Sony, you'll be better off with Action Time. Just for example, you own the IP, and then Sony wanted immediately 70% of the IP. And Action Time just took 40% of distribution fee and stuff like this. So I was able to learn the way distribution company work. And they had the format for like 2 years, did a lot of option. They didn't put it into air. And then Action Time was bought by Granada, which is a kind of closing circle. If now you say I'm coming back to ITV, but when Action Time was bought by Granada, I get a call from Granada and they telling me, we want to continue distribute the format. The name was the package, the name of the format. And I said, but you are broadcasters, right? They said, yes, we are broadcasters. I said, are you going to put it on air? They said, no. So I said, how can you sell a format that you didn't air? And they said, well, it's a valid point. And then I took the format out of them from distribution, hoping to find a new distribution company. And then like 2-3 months after, I find myself moving into my new life. I was not sure yet what I was doing, but I was in these 2-3 months, I was able to make a deal for JCS in Finland. the first deal, and I did it under JCS. And then, before I left, I'm telling my CEO, I'm leaving, but in 2 weeks, you need to send someone for consultation in Finland. I'm already out, so you need to find someone. And I was really ready to leave. And then he's calling me after 2 weeks and said, I have no one to send. Are you willing to go for the consultation in Finland? And I said, yes, you're still paying my salary. If you need me, I will go. Taking flight from Tel Aviv to Helsinki, landing at 2 o'clock, totally dark, December in Helsinki. And I remember, doing the consultation, and then in the evening in a small room at the hotel, like 7 p.m. on my own, I'm getting a phone call from Germany, from a production company which I knew, and they said, we love the package, we think it can be daily, we want to buy, to license 100 episodes. This is where I got the spark. When I came back, I told, my ex-boss, listen, you don't have anyone to take care of the distribution of the format. Why won't you give it to me? I'll handle the distribution. Because I thought, under the episode, maybe there's a business model there. And then, by myself, I took the package, and then I took another format, and then went to MIP TV on my own, for like a year or two. And from then on, it started gradually. I remember the income on the first year was like maybe 50,000 euro, just option. And then we got the first license in the second year. And we were able to grow from one year to another, putting various targets throughout the year. We wanted, if you sell if you sell a format to one country, why won't you sell it to 5 or 6, right? What would be, like, if you read the target of having, we wanted very much to have a production in English-speaking territory, which we never had, and because we thought this is, again, another major step that you can make in the way to success. So we look into the world and put targets from year to year, and we were able to achieve it. We wanted to have a show on American network, and we were able to sell, a game show, to NBC. But then, what's happened, that you can start feeling the competition. And I knew, most of the competition that I had in Israel was like the IP owners, which are mainly the broadcasters. And they are the ones that were stepping in. So I knew that they will kind of narrow my way outside, and without controlling the product, without controlling, format, I won't be able to sustain. So I established a development company in which we start developing show, but we didn't sell it into the local market because the local market wanted to own the IP. The network wanted to own the IP to sell them. So our model was very unique. We created a pilot, and with this pilot, we went to the international market and start making deals. And I think we had a very solid, unique positioning within the market because the industry trusted our creativity. They were always coming to our booth, to see what's new. And, when you are developing, you need always to be ahead of the curve, right? You need to bring something new, something fresh. Also, the DNA of development, when you think about selling, is like the DNA of the network. It needs to be bold. It needs to be very clear. It needs to be outstanding because you need to market it. So all of this created a very unique model because the regular model was that you are a local production company. Maybe you develop a show. Maybe you then able to sell it locally, then it's a success or a failure. And if it's a success, either you or distribution company take it to the outside world. Because it's already done, it's good, but it's not necessarily very fresh. And we were creating shows that people never seen before. And I think our success rate from going from pilots to a worldwide sale was quite strong. And this was building, both the positioning and the reputation of the company.
It was a very different type of company, as you say, when you developed it. So you were developing formats for international sales, something that had never been done in Israel before. How did you develop an idea of what the format points might be? I mean, did you have a sort of a template you were thinking it needs to hit this point, this point, this point, and another point? Because it was mainly, at that point, unscripted formats?
Yeah. It was mainly unscripted.
So how do you do that when there's no precedent, if you like? How do you create a show, a format based upon something that you can remake all over the world when you haven't done it before? What's your template?
One key element is the ability or the will to take a risk. Development and pilot production, if you want, these are the most risky part of the business. The pressure that you need to be successful because we were only based on the income that we got from the formats that we sold. So I think it's understanding the international market, understanding the need, understanding marketing. Because, I think Israel was creative before we came into the market, but we created the marketing platform that enabled the Israeli industry or the Israeli creativity to reach out to the world and to the world to expose to this creativity. I think you always need to have a models that you want to follow, and I kind of follow two different models. One model was the model of the high-tech industry in Israel. It's equivalent, the developing of format and the high-tech industry is very much equivalent because the high-tech industry is based on creating startup, on creating IP, on creating new ideas, to take new ideas and make them into a major industry. And I said, okay, it can be the same, the format business is also kind of a patent. You need to create a patent. It can be creative patent. It can be the look and feel of the format as a patent. What's very clear about the format and what can make it stand out in the market. And also, like the high-tech industry, you need to invest in a portfolio of ideas in order for one of them to be successful and be a massive income generator. The other model that I kind of follow was I called it the Dutch model. At the time when I got in the industry, the leading format country were the US, the UK, and Netherlands. And you can say, okay, it's very clear why the US is a leading country, why the UK is a leading country, both of them, quite big countries with competitive, a lot of opportunities, English speaking, the world usually buy English speaking content at the time. And then there was Netherlands. And I said, okay, why Netherlands? It's also a small country like Israel. They have a tough language like Hebrew, the Dutch language like Hebrew. What made Netherlands a success, and I think what made it a success was, Big Brother, right? Sometimes you need a leading format that then everybody can follow, and it was also the structure of the TV industry in Netherlands. That there was quite many outlets that was enabling the creators to flourish and enable Netherlands to be a key player in the format industry. So I said, okay, I want to follow the high-tech industry and I want to follow the Dutch model. If the Dutch can, we can too. Understanding the business, understanding what is a format, understanding the unique element that even until the last market, I find it always very important to take a table in our booth and meet the client face to face. I think the ability to meet the client, you sit with them and they watch the trailer on the screen and you see their reaction and you understand what make the moves. And those elements, I think, were that gave us the skill and the professionality, to understand what format do we want to develop. Because at the end of the day, there are many ideas. I told you before that we were always making, giving targets to ourselves, right? And one of the targets, is looking into our catalog and to see what we are missing. And we didn't have any music show, but still, the world was controlling by The Voice and by Idol. And we said, okay, this is where we want to be. And I think it was taking a year and I got different ideas and none of them were exactly there, from my development team. And then they said, okay, what shall we do? They went out for a full day of retreat. And then, once I heard the pitch, I knew that we have something in our hand. It was the form. Okay. And we created, initial PowerPoint presentation, explaining the format. I remember it was November. I was going to LA and showing it. I even showed it to Fox because I knew Fox gave up Idol and they're looking for a music show. And the answer was no. I was in the room pitching, but the answer was no. But I saw how excited they were from the format. So I came back and moved immediately into producing a pilot. By the end of January, we produced the pilot. In March, we took it, we launched it to the market. In April, there was MIP. I came out of MIB with like 15 different deals, only one license with Russia, but then like about 10, 12, option and then some. And from MIB directly, from Cannes, I flew directly to LA and did a round of pitching. Got some few offers, and the best offer was from Fox. And by May already, I had a development deal with Fox to bringing, the Ford to the US market. So, you need to understand when it's happening. You need to be, to be very fast because this is your way to protect the market. And there was there was all kind of obstacle along the way. I don't know if later on you want to hear also about the obstacle, but we were very determined, and so we started the development in November. November after, we had already the first version produced in Russia, and in December we started production in the US. So like within a year from small development room in Tel Aviv, to be in a studio. It was, I think we taped the first season in the Sony Studios, to be in Sony Studios in LA with hundreds of people working on your idea, talents like Sean Diddy Combs, or DJ Khaled, or Megan Trainor, or Fergie, all of them working on your idea, and all, when it's happening, it's very exciting.
Oh, it's interesting, you going back to something you said earlier on about marketing. You've got to understand marketing when it comes to a format. Is that something that you've really focused on in terms of building a buzz around a particular format, in terms of building it? And you talked about the speed, important to get the format moving quickly. Is that a case of you investing in marketing and getting a buzz going around your format? Or is that just a case of your determination and knowing the right buys to go to?
Those are two different issues. I always say, to the company inside, or also to the student when I teach, once you have a great idea, you need to think that there are like 20 other people or 20 other companies around the world was thinking about the same idea at the same time, and now it's a race. Who will be the first and who will have the best execution of it? People often ask, how do you protect the format? And, you can go around registration, but I think I said the only way to protect a format, the only practical way to protect a format is to move quickly, to create a brand, to create an execution of the format. This is the way that you can then better protect the format. This was one element,
Get a precedent. We've already done this, so if anyone's thinking about something similar, don't worry, we've already got it, right?
Yeah. And, there were four other people, that when we came up with the four, I got, I think, four different letters of people that were saying, we had the same ideas, or what are you doing? Or like there was letter of, legal letters that we got. So this is the speed. You need to understand when you come into MIP or MIPCOM or other market, but MIP and MIPCOM was like the center square of the industry. So I kind of once counted, there were like every 6 months, there are about 200 new formats that are launched at MIP or MIPCOM from all around the world. And, buyers can get lost unless you are able to stand up, unless you are able to create a buzz with every possible way, with press release, with interviews, with poster, with sponsorship. The fight is to stand out from the crowd and bring the clients into your stand and do the sales, and that they will believe, that your product is better. I always said, like there was like starting the market, and there was like Monday was always like a kind of quiet because the buyers was like going around, going to a conference. There was the WIT Fresh TV conference, so we always make a point, to be there, trying to understand the buzz. And then they meet in the evening, and then they share the information with each other. And then Tuesday was the boom because they kind of feel where the market is going, and they were coming to our stand to get the deal. So you have one day to make a very big impression in order to generate the deals. So marketing is a key element for you to sell your idea.
Another thing that you mentioned earlier on, I just want to pick up on, was you talked about developments and formats, but also broadcasters being brave to move first on a format. How do you see the market right now? With last few TellyCast episodes, we've spoken to producers, we've spoken to networks, we've spoken to lots of different people about the scripted industry as a whole at the moment. And it's going through a very difficult time because of cost of living crisis, because of inflation, because of all these various different external influences. And broadcasters have got less money. Commercial broadcasters have got little less money because they're not getting the advertising they're usually getting. Does that make it a better or a worse time? I think I know what you're going to say, but a better or worse time for a format business? Does that mean a network or a platform is going to be bolder, or are they playing it safe?
I think that the lesson that, from the last few years, and it's gradually getting worse and worse, right? It's not getting any better. Because, when they have less budget, they don't take risks so much. They're trying to hang on the brand that they have. So it's getting tougher and tougher to bring new idea to the market. Yet, one of the frustrating side of it is that the model hasn't changed, because still everyone that involved in the business, or every programming director, in their dream, in their night, in their bed, when they dream, they want the next big thing. They want something fresh. They don't have the courage to take it, but they will still want it. So you need to find the dialogue with one brave commissioner that is willing, to take the risk and move forward. As I said, for example, with the 4, I found it with Rob Wade. And in its question, there's always the question, the combination between luck and success, in the business. Because he just came into Fox. He was looking for something that will be his signature into the industry, bringing something of his own. He understand, he was on X Factor and understand the strengths of a music show. He loved the 4, he loved the concept very much. And he was the major force behind it to make it happen in the US. So I think in the right time, you can find the right commissioner that will believe in your idea, and together you can make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it's getting tougher, but the model is still there, and the industry is still looking for something big, fresh, and new.
It's interesting what you're saying about a lot of broadcasters trying to maintain their audience and hold on to their audience and not let it slip too much, versus the brave commissioner who's going, I'm going to hang my hat on this. This is, if this doesn't work, I'll lose my job. But I believe in it so much that I'm going to make the decision and going to ask my network to back me on it. That's really what you want, isn't it? Somebody who's brave enough to risk their job, actually, because that's really what it is.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not only need to be brave, but sometimes you have no other choice, because the situation is kind of bad, and you need to take a risk in order to make his breakthrough, right? I think you know the stories of various formats that kind of changed the future of a network, right? Like you think about NBC before The Voice or after The Voice. The Voice was the one that. So if you have the successful format, it can be a game changer in the network. So taking the risk can be rewarding as well, but it's much safer to stick with what you have and what you know. Squeeze it as much as you can.
You talked earlier on about going to a market and it being, the marketplace. You're going in, you're selling your wares, envisaging you with your VHSs in a suitcase back in the day, back in the early days. What we saw, you mentioned Big Brother and lots of other these super formats that have changed the face of the TV industry. We've been seeing less and less of those breakout hits, when you get to a MIPCOM or you get to a MIP TV and you've seen X number of deals, and it's very obvious when there's a hot format. Everybody's talking about the hot format. We haven't seen much of that, have we, over the last few years? That sort of excitement and buzz has seemed to receded away from certain formats. Why do you think that is? And do you think that, for example, the writer's strike that's happening in the US now, which is causing a lot of buzz, is that going to be the fuel that might set off another format bonanza?
It can, but I think this is like a limited wave within like the long race, for finding a new format. I think that the major impact that was on the development of the creation of format, I think it's the consolidation that was happening within the market, both the production market and the network industry. At the time when I brought a new format to the market, there were like quite a few production group that was fighting among themselves to get my product. There was Banijay, there was Endemol, there was Zodiac, Fremantle Media, and you saw there was Shine, and you saw like out of Shine, Endemol Shine, and then Banijay was consolidated with Zodiac, and then all of them become one Endemol. So all of a sudden, when you have those mega conglomerate, of production, they are focusing in-house. They are not looking outside to see what's new, what's fresh. They have the duty of selling their own catalog and keep the RP within inside. So I think the consolidation of production companies affected competition, and competition is a major force in bringing new ideas and making new ideas alive. It's happening the same, also under network. You saw the level of consolidation that happened in the 5-6 years among major networks. And on top of it came, the global streaming. The global streaming, they don't buy format, they buy production. And when they buy global rights. So the model of creating an IP and monetize it over 30, 40 territories also is passing away. So all of those three forces make the industry much more difficult and make the possibility to come with a new hit also harder and harder.
So take us back to 2019, Avi, when you sold your business to ITV Studios. We're talking about consolidation. How's that changed your business?
First, you need to know that it didn't happen just like this. It was part of the strategy. And understanding the international market and understanding where Armoza format should be, and how can myself as the CEO of the company, I think the major challenge is how do you secure the future of the company for many years ahead. And I saw that the importance of production is getting stronger and stronger because streamers buying a production. My choices was either to start establishing production companies around the world, which I thought it's too risky and unrealistic, or to join a major production studio, and ITV of course was one of them. So this was the philosophy that stood behind the decision to take an investment bankers and go out and trying to sell the company, because I thought this is what will secure the future. So this is what led into them. But when you becoming part of the group, there's other elements that came in. So one key element that came in that we now part of ITV. ITV has a very strong, solid catalog of formats, from The Voice to I'm a Celebrity to The Chase. Now they have a base in Israel, and we become the production arm of ITV in Israel, having exclusive rights on all the ITV formats and selling them to the Israeli market. So all of a sudden, when I left, JCS, I kind of ran away from the local production market, and then I find myself back, but much more powerful, and with the backing of a major group, and selling formats to the local industry. So this is one element of the change. And the other element that, groups tend to consolidate operation, that they don't need duplication. So like when we at the past have our own distribution platform, ITV now have a very big, massive distribution platform. They said, we can take all the distribution under one place, and maybe also the changing in the industry need one key address where they approach to. So we moved all of our catalog into ITV, and we are focusing in two major line of business. One is local production for the Israeli market, and the other is still developing show with international perspective. We have the connection, we have the brand, and we have like some development deals with international players. So we still want to, using the platform of ITV, both as a network and production, we still want to take our capability to create and develop, but we'll do it differently, not through a distribution company, but through the platform of production and network that exists through ITV. And, our target is to become one of the top 3, top 4, production players, in the local industry. And I think we are on the way there. Now, this is our second year of production. We are producing, Come Dine With Me already for the third season under us. We are producing The Chase. We are producing the 1% Club. And, we just came back 10 days ago from Greece, producing the first ever Israeli version of Love Island, which was an amazing experience.
And was that local production capability and plan, was that integral to your deal with ITV Studios back in the day? Was that a key part of the plan?
It wasn't a necessity, it wasn't something that was a must, because Israel is not just a big market, from ITV perspective. But I thought this is something that, again, taking the role of CEO and securing the future of the company, within a group, I thought, this is something that is within DNA, of ITV Studios. Right? This is what they know. They know how to manage a production company and monetize them around the world, and I should be part of it. It was a good and important move, for Armoza Formats to move into production.
Looking to the future, Avi, we're seeing digital first productions starting to make their way into the mainstream, into linear TV, digital formats being remade for networks around the world. And also we're seeing a growing market within digital first. So publishing essentially directly to YouTube or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever that might be, and working with brands to monetize that. Is that something that you see as being part of the future of Armoza, both locally or internationally? Or is it something that you're still very much focused on the traditional linear, unscripted format development and production locally?
The business of production, the business of TV is commercially very tough. The ability, especially when you're in production, right? There are ups and downs. You are able to produce for production in like 6 months, and then you hire like hundreds of people, and then you can find yourself 2-3 months without work. So the ability, the managerial skill, and the ability to keep being active is a challenge. Most of the time, we don't have the luxury of looking into like other outlets unless there is money there. We have the necessity in order to survive. We need to follow the money, and still the big money of production is within linear and non-linear TV. You cannot compare, the one guy, although it's important and although he can be a talent or his idea can be great, but still there is a journey there. From being on an online platform one or another, then to make it into a solid 1 hour, 40 episode TV series. So this is still a major skills. I think, we need to be open. We need to involve talents that coming, that are able to create or looking to content differently than us or creating content differently from us, and see how can we cooperate and how can we, move closer and move together into the future. All of it will be based only when there is a clear business model there. And without a clear business model, none of that will happen.
And now it's time in the show for Story of the Week, where my guests get to choose the TV industry news story that's caught their eye in the past 7 days. Avi, what's your story of the week?
I think the one that I would like to pick up is the release of Mission Impossible #7, the movie. And the question that always come up, within the industry, how much CGI is there within the movie? And we know that CGI was an element that was pushing the feature film industry much forward. And I think the challenge that we have as a TV creator is how can we use CGI into TV production of shows? And this is something, that we personally kind of touched in the last 2 or 3 years, together with the local partners named Game Changer. We created game shows that you can shoot in totally empty studio, no blue screen, no green screen, totally black. You shoot the game with a very small TV set and record the timeline. And then in post-production, an hour later, you can use a very, CGI technique in creating a huge set. And I think, using CGI is also part of the future of TV production. The future of TV production from two elements. One element that you need technology. Technology is enabling you to create new content pattern, to tell new stories through technology. This is one element. And the other element, when we spoke about the need to reduce cost of production, new modern way of production, without building a set, for example. Always when we sold the format, there was one obstacle was the set is too big, the studio is too big, it's too expensive. And he said, okay, with the package, with the suitcase of selling the format, I'm not just selling you the format and the design of the set, I'm selling you the set. So this is, I think, connecting between the CGI and Mission Impossible and feature film in general. I think it's also the future of production, also of the TV industry.
That's really interesting. And in fact, it really rings a bell. I'm sure I've met the Game Changer guys at MIPCOM or MIPTV a few years ago, and they showed me a presentation. It sounds very, very, very familiar.
Yeah, and we came with the first format. We came was a family piggy bank, which more than 200 episodes have been produced in Portugal, and now we are dialoguing in a few other countries, including the US. So it takes time when you bring something new. It takes time for people to realize what it is and they're afraid of technology, and to have the safety and the security that it can happen. And it's working very smoothly. So we will see more and more. I think program based on CGI sets.
And now it's time for Hero of the Week and Get in the Bin. Avi, who's your Hero of the Week?
I think my heroes are my fellow Israelis, young citizens that are actually even these days and in the last, probably 6 months, marching in the street and fighting to protect, our democracy. I think, we see kind of a wave, not just in Israel, but also around the world that, going into right-wing regime that affecting the liberal, affecting democracy and affecting, liberal environments, within countries. And I feel very encouraged to see my fellows, colleagues and Israeli youngsters marching in the street and speaking up their mind and stating the importance of democracy and a liberal environment for any country and any creativity, if you want.
What's the security situation in Israel right now, Avi? Is it relatively safe or?
The security, I think, is fine. It's not something, something that's been there, throughout the year of the existence of Israel. I think the major challenge is, the need of some, governments to change the rule of the game in order to better control or secure their future. And this is affecting us as citizens, about our freedom, about our democracy. And I think this is why my heroes this week are the people that are marching out in the streets of Israel.
Yeah. Who or what are you throwing in the bin, Avi, this week?
I think, we are all going under a major heat wave, both in Europe, America, and here in Israel. And this is we are realizing it's the result of what we do to the environment. And so I will encourage to throw everything from paper to plastic into the bin. And I'm very proud that being part of ITV, ITV is very aware and put a lot of action into sustainability. And we were like the first production in Israel that got the Albert certified green production with Come Dine With Me. And I think we will do it with all our future productions. So this is one thing very important, to throw all plastic and paper into the bin.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's a very practical answer. Chuck all your recyclables and everything else in the bin. That's it. That's what a bin's for. Avi, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been really enjoyable chatting with you. I think we could probably go on for another hour or so. There's lots I want to ask you. Maybe you come on the show again at some point in the future, or maybe if you have any time at MIPCOM, maybe you could come on our MIPCOM show, because it'd be good to get your impressions of the forthcoming MIPCOM in October.
For sure. Thank you.
All right, Avi, thank you very much indeed. Keep cool out there in Tel Aviv.
Thank you very much. See you at MIPCO.
Well, that's about it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. TellyCast was edited by Ian Chambers and recorded in London. We'll be back with another show next week, the last in the series before we take a short August break. Until then, stay safe.